All right, Justin Franson here with one of my favorite peeps, Mike Winter, Alfa Vedic, Cordal. I mean, the list goes on and on. He's got so many projects. Talk about master juggler. I teach juggling with athleticism, but he knows how to do it with so many different things, business ventures, and just out of the box thinking. I'm so excited to chat with you for about an hour and have your time and attention and wisdom to share with everyone.
Thanks, Justin. Such a pleasure to be with you, man. We've had some fun times hanging at Music and Sky and some other sovereignty events. I always love that you come out to those things and show up, because that's really important, that we're meeting in person in the physical and coming together as community in the real.
Definitely. Well, Mike's putting on these music and Sky events and great speakers with some fun music at night, just a really family-oriented freedom sovereignty events out there. And when is the next one coming up? Fall?
The next one's looking early October. That's going to be the full festival. We just finished a smaller adults only retreat that was a massive success. The testimonials coming in were just unbelievably groundbreaking in terms of what we've done. And we're really creating a decentralized open source type festival. And that means that everybody's a collaborator that comes. We'll have a couple headlining speakers during family dinner, but we're kind of getting away from that sort of symposium speaker on the stage vibe. And we're going more towards everybody has a role to play in the festival. And it's a new model that's very exciting, Justin. I can't wait for you to experience it. And it's going to be in your neck of the woods, in the desert, SoCal style. So a quick drive for you in the fall.
Yeah, I'll be there as always. I love those events. It's kind of like the sports professional tour. We get like all the top speakers coming out of the woodwork and just showing up. Yeah, so I'll call.
Well, and for this one, we're gonna have the Kelly Brogans, the Andy Kaufmans, the Paul Enslaved, like people coming from the sovereignty law space, from the health space, from the tech space, but they're all gonna just be hanging there, and we're gonna have fireside chats where people are gonna be talking, and you'll just be hanging with these folks. Because we're all, the whole kind of point is we're all in this together, and there are no holy cows, right? There's no one that we should be looking towards. I mean, yes, there are thought leaders and there are people that we're going to give the stage, but also we're all in there just to have our voice heard. And I'm really excited about this new model, dude. And there's going to be actually more big names probably at this thing we've ever had, like Alex Zeck and the whole Health, Freedom, Humanity crew, like Johnny Juicer, if you know who he is, big Instagram people in the health scene, but also in like all different walks of life have come to understand what Music and Sky is, and they all want to come. So yeah, this is going to be the who's who, but also we're all just hanging together. So feel free to come. Don't feel intimidated or anything. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, well, while we're on the Music and Sky, where could they find it?
Musicandsky.com. So just go to musicandsky.com. You can join the mailing list to find out all the information about upcoming events. Perfect.
You guys, this is Urban Freedom. I mean, Mike and I go way back, and even I go even further back with Barre Lando, and it's just been so fun to have this relationship. Gosh, going on about 10 years, a little shy of that, I think, right now. But we're on the same mission, the same path, same really intent as far as understanding physics and biology and how we're born with these just inalienable rights of freedom. And so I just want to talk about, when we bring up the term urban freedom to you, what does that mean to you, Mike?
Well, I mean, I think it means being sovereign in your own space, no matter where you live. And whether you do live in a city or out in the country or the wilderness, Barre and I have always stressed from Alfa Vedic that it's your freedoms don't come from an external source. They don't come from even where you live. They come from your inner knowing and knowing what you are and who you are and the powers that you have as an eternal consciousness. And so that urban freedom idea, I've been stressing for years. I used to live in the belly of the beast in Los Angeles and was quite content there, because I knew who I was. And yes, I took major steps towards having specific resources and different strategies for different sorts of breakdowns of civilization, for sure. And that's, especially once I had kids, that's something very responsible to do. But also, as the years have gone along and Bear and I have done more and more shows and had amazing guests on, we've come to realize that really this is a spiritual battle. This is a great spiritual time we're in. And that's really where it's coming down to, is knowing who you are and knowing really what your purpose in life is. And once you come to grips with that and you understand your true hero's journey, then it doesn't necessarily matter where you live. And actually, your divine purpose will protect you, especially if you come with the firm understanding of who you are and your direct connection to the divine. It's amazing how the universe will just play everything out in perfection for what you need.
It's so wild. I mean, we obviously, EMF Rocks is one of my companies. We sell grounding bags to doctor clinics all around the country. I have a huge network of doctors, as do you guys, and obviously Bear. I just went to a Cairo conference this weekend, and one of the old timers knew Bear, and just going, this guy's brilliant. And so I guess what I was getting at is every single one of the guys that I know that are in our circle, it feels the exact same way we do. They believe in God. They believe in our freedom. They believe in what basically freedom is, and more conservative on a lot of their thoughts, and really huge pushers for taking care of future generations and looking at the footprint that we're leaving right now on our environment. It's really about building things, but not at all costs. And I think this mentality is really holds true with majority of the people in our circle.
Yeah, definitely. And going back to the idea of God, right? That obviously we live currently in a phase of modernity where God has been taken out of the equation on every aspect of the public, in terms of public schooling, in terms of public corporations, and even in now with our government, and all that. I think more and more people are starting to see the importance of going into the private, because that is where we control our own God-given alienable rights. And it really takes them the sort of, I don't know, parasite class, if you will, out of the equation. And that's something I've really been enjoying of late, is researching and really discovering more and more about what it means to live in the private. I just recently spoke at a privacy symposium down in San Diego called Liberty's Horizon. That was phenomenal. It was one of the best events I've been to in years. And it really was so eye-opening about what it means to live in the private and how that can be done anywhere. Whether you're living in the heart of a place like Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, or you're living out in the boonies, it doesn't matter. And that's really where freedom comes from, is your understanding of who you are, once again, as a living man or woman. So, and that is all because we are one with the Creator. Those are our God-given, unalienable rights.
Yeah, that is for sure. And with that and that connection, really, I feel comes in awareness. And I mean, being in the space, we have an awareness of health and biology and physics, and understanding how structured water has an intelligence, has this innate intelligence. And there's the body has this living collective tissue matrix, and our universe has this living collective intelligence matrix, and through water, through energy, that we're literally, it's like all bioenergetically connected. And when we really dive into that space and understand everything is in waveforms and has this intelligence, and then we connect above, we're going to be protected, and we're born free, with that. So we have this freedom to choose what we do, and how we live our lives, and how we think, and how we can create. And the cool thing, I think, for me, is the body doesn't know the difference between memory, reality, and imagination, or past, present, and future. So that's about as free as you can get, is to tap into that whole process, right?
Yes, dude, that's a great point. And that's really what was the most kind of eye-opening for me for my awakening back in the day was as I got to know Bear was really understanding through health, through fixing my own health, realizing my power and this kind of holistic reality we live in, these hermetic principles, right? Of as above, so below, everything's connected. And when you get good with your own body and your own physicality, your spirituality, then the manifestations around you take care of themselves because it's all interconnected. And so that's what's so powerful about working in the alternative health space is I think that really helps people see this sort of visceral connection because you see the actual things happening in real time through your body healing itself, right? Or through your ability to fix relationships due to fixing yourself. So that these are really important steps towards sovereignty is health and wellness, and that's what Alfa Vedic really is all about. That's what we talk a lot about on our podcast, Alfacast, and we are trying to really create a model for those seeking this not only just greater understanding of who they are, but also to implement this in their life stream through community building, through decentralization, through creating a business enterprise for themselves, and really creating this decentralized model for commerce and for agriculture and for health and wellness. That's really exciting and hopefully repeatable for people to follow us and do the same thing, because that's where we all need to be going in the future so that people like yourself, Justin, can really thrive living where you do, being an entrepreneur. We're huge proponents of being entrepreneurial in spirit. I think that is going to be massive moving forward, right? As we build this kind of parallel society, this parallel system that will thrive anywhere. It's a mindset. It really is.
It is. And I mean, and you could see it with some people that really have tremendous success during downturns, and others are like, they just crumble. And it's buying into that fear. For us right now, everything's just great. And there's a lot of people that are like, oh no, what's going to happen?
Yeah. Oh man, we're crushing right now. Alfa Vedic is having like a total just renaissance right now because we saw this all coming years ago. We were very kind of ahead of the curve in many ways in terms of what we were talking about on the podcast, the products we offer. I think a lot of times we were seen as kind of not an outcast, but an outsider in the alternative health products world because one, we didn't really with Alfa Vedic, we chose not to go retail. We chose not to play in like the Whole Foods or even the Erewhon market. We chose to completely self distribute and go direct to customer using the internet. We chose to, in terms of our podcasts, we don't do any advertising on there. We barely even promote our own products. We saw that there's an important aspect of creating community moving forward, creating community based on trust and based on truth and honor and being moral and all of these sort of very sound naturalistic principles. And, so we weren't doing a lot of the traditional SEO and social media marketing and all these things. And it's now paying massive dividends because, quite frankly, a lot of our audience and a lot of our customers don't want to, aren't on Facebook anymore. They aren't looking at Twitter. They're not searching on Google. So we would put all that time and money into marketing that way for nothing. So it's really paying a massive dividends. And how does this play into urban freedom? Well, it's about thinking outside the box. It's about not working in the system, but being your own person, doing what you feels right to you intuitively inside in your heart, and following that vision and that path, and massive success will happen. And there's a lot of alternative platforms and alternative means of doing commerce and communicating that are coming around that will allow us to stay completely free from the Borg, as the us anal Schwabs are talking about, you will own nothing and be happy and you'll live in a metaverse. Well, no, I think most sound people that understand what consciousness is and understand, like you said, the real science, right? Of like waveform mechanics and who we are as infinite, divine, naturalistic beings aren't going to want to go live in the metaverse and do what they say. So, I hopefully Alfa Vedic can be really a shining example for those looking to find a means to, support their family and live in abundance. There's so many different means and ways that we can do that now, thanks to the internet and thanks to all these enterprising decentralized solutions and people like yourself really inspiring and being thought leaders out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mike, I got to give you just huge accolades. When we first met, you were going to move up to California Oregon border, Smith River, and help Bear with his business. And that's a tall order to go in with a very successful, just brilliant doctor and drive the ship and bring his voice to the world. I mean, Bear is one of the best orators and has the most incredible knowledge, and as do yourself, as do you. I mean, your knowledge is so vast, it's really impressive. And to bring that to Alfacast and bring Bear's voice out there, now that doctor credential backing it with all the years of experience, what you guys have accomplished is phenomenal. And it's literally all because you stepped it up and said, hey, we're going to bring this voice to the masses. And we're going to voice our freedom and this science and tech, how the world works to everybody.
And I really appreciate that, Justin. Thank you. You were there, excuse me, from the beginning. And yeah, it was definitely a risk. Luckily, I have a beautiful wife who supports me because I left my job in Hollywood. I was working for an independent studio. And to be honest, that was kind of collapsing at that time. I think it was universe really, directing me towards the right path because I wasn't in the right path at that time working in that industry. It was not my hero's journey for sure. I was kind of forcing that. So yeah, picking up and moving from Redondo Beach, living at the beach in a very comfortable place, and kind of taking the risk to move up to the middle of nowhere, essentially in the mountains. This is back in 2015, 16. Before this was trendy to do, now a lot of people are doing this. It was a great risk I took, but also we went into it, knowing fully we were making the right decision, and actually we're super enthused and stoked the whole time. So happy when we got the keys to this place and looked around us and the beautiful Smith River flowing in our backyard, and just knew we made the right decision. And in terms of urban freedom, that did play also a massive factor in my decision, because I was a big time, I wouldn't say prepper, but I was definitely very aware with all the potential collapse scenarios that could happen in an urban setting. And I was as prepped as I could for that because I had 2 kids now. So like I was telling you before pre-chat, we had worked on having a Zodiac inflatable craft to basically bug out of LA by water, by sea. I had urban bug out bags set up for our whole fam. In fact, there's this great channel on YouTube called Nut and Fancy, where he does firearm and different reviews of different sort of products like firearms, knives, camping gear. But he did an amazing special. And this was back in 2011 when Fukushima disaster hit. And I was getting pretty concerned about that living in San Francisco. He did a wonderful 2-part special on how to build out your urban bug out bag, which is still online. I highly recommend it because he goes into all these different scenarios and what to pack. And so I geeked out on that. And I had my bug out bags and had gone through all these scenarios and realized, you know what, I'm being called to go, work with Bear in the forest. And also the bonus would be that I don't have to worry about this so much anymore. So that was definitely a big bonus. And Bear and I never stress like, hey, you got to move out of the city. In fact, we need people shining the light in the cities right now more than ever. We need strong people there to bring back the sanity in these places. So for those that are listening that are living in an urban dense environment, props to you. Go into that inner strength of who you are and build that community around you. And, we need you more than ever because cities are very important and they're cultural centers of our civilization. And quite frankly, it's been quite depressing seeing what certain factions have been doing to them on purpose to wreak havoc and then come back and buy pennies on the dollar, right? So that they can take over these cities and basically set out the framework for what they're trying to, with these smart cities to usher everybody into this sort of demonic, technocratically controlled system of a one world government. I think most people watching this are very aware of this agenda, the Agenda 2030 and all this stuff that's all been laid out there. And so by having our peeps in these cities as nodes of awareness, that is extremely important. And that's something that this Project Cordal I'm working on is really betting on, because our mesh networking system that we're creating that will be an alternative to the internet service providers out there is going to heavily rely upon dense urban environments to begin with to support the network. So, and it's kind of selfishly, Justin, everybody's moving out to the country and trying to move out to where we are. It's like, no, we don't want more people. Please stay in the city and let's bring our cities back to sanity.
Yeah. So, well, I hear you loud and clear, and I'm one of those guys that's staying for a bit. I mean, I'm not right in the heart of LA like I grew up in, but I'm in Laguna Beach. I live on the beach, and my office is in Costa Mesa. So one of the reasons I'm here is I felt I was called here to raise the consciousness of the people, and I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it in my community. Although a lot got tricked, really educated, really wealthy, got the shot. But the cool thing is they're not going to get another one. So yeah. That is what I know for sure. And we've been raising this consciousness up, and it's working with all of our collective voices and intents and prayers and all. And let's go, before we go into Cordal, which I want to dive into, I want to jump back into Alfa Vedic a little bit and talk about what you have going on there. I know you guys, you have some of the most incredible botanical gardens like anywhere in the country, and do frequency work on the soil. You're producing some amazing 0 point minerals, and the list goes on and on. You're a big reseller of our grounding bags. And what are you guys doing? I know you're moving towards a more membership base. Please share with us more on Alfa Vedic and where people can go for really keeping their vitality up. Carbon C60 products, really to fight off 5G and boost their energy and keep that. The urban freedom is all about health first, so got to have that. So share with us what you guys are doing at Alfa Vedic.
Yeah, you nailed it on the head there. You're not going to be very free if you're sick. So that first and foremost is taking care of your holy temple. And so we provide all sorts of botanically based products based in nature. These aren't nootropics or chemically derived products. These are all based upon the divine kind of waveforms of nature. Dr. Barre Lando has 40 plus years as a bioterrain specialist, creating these types of solutions for his clients. We saw about 10 years ago the need to bring this out to the world. So that's where Alfa Vedic kind of came from. So we have essentially, it's a living system. It's a plug and play system dependent upon your needs, because everybody's health needs are completely unique and different and individualized. Disease is not something that comes from some sort of bug that's connected to a specific symptomology. It's not how it works. We have symptoms due to a vast array of, and I'm sure you have had Dr. Cowan on here and Bear, they'll all explain this. But the point of that being is education is first and foremost probably the most important part of our platform. That's why we have the podcast and why we're coming out with this new private platform, which I'll explain in a second. And then two, once you're educated about who you are and why you are and what causes illness, then you can start to take the proper steps to alleviate any health issues you have. And the idea down the line is, once you have really mastered this, you probably won't even need so much of our products anymore, except for ones that make you feel great, like our teas are amazing. If you're an athlete, our Life Force proteins are next level, probably the best protein on the market. I would say our teas are some of the most exceptional teas in the world. But we do have a lot of amazing detox, different products for detoxing. If you are living in an urban environment, Barre Lando would say that we do live in a toxic realm right now due to the predator class. So we do have these products that we take to help our terrain clear out these toxins. However, we would also say that once you are truly a master and you understand who you are with your own consciousness, you can actually create a lot of this cleansing and protectiveness around you through your own consciousness. but that takes a high degree of mastery. So unless you're a master in that respect, we have C60, amazing way to chelate your cellular matrix from everything from radioactive elements to all sorts of nasty stuff we get, especially if you've gotten the jibby jab, to our Jalgulan, which is our core crop we grow at our permaculture garden there on the Smith River. It's all biodynamically grown. And that is an amazing chelating adaptogen as well. And that's in all of our immortality teas. It has so many benefits. It's Dr. Lando's favorite adaptogen. And we're basically the largest grower now domestically of Jalgulan, or Gynostema as it's known. And then, of course, we have like our Lumen blends, probably the highest quality botanical blends you can find for something like if you need a vitamin C or you need a calcium product or something like that. They're all at our website, alfavedic.com. I take them all the time. So every morning I wake up, our 0 Point, which you're mentioning, which is a liquid Shilajit sort of product, but using transitional elements and all sorts of other amazing activated ingredients in there. So I have that with my structured river water that is hydrogenated too. I use a hydrogen generator, and then I put our drops in that with some fresh lemon. And then I basically that gets me through a lot of my morning. And then I have our teas or our thermos. I like to do our chaga coffee with coconut oil for thermogenic brew, which is a big thing we're into. We're also why we're connected with you from the get-go, Justin, is we're big advocates of being of athletics. That's where Bear's background comes from. I was an athlete in high school. I ran track, played basketball, still love basketball today. I've really embraced trail running now and hiking and backpacking and also biking. And, for us, I think athletics is a major part of why we are here in this body. It's what can really drive us towards understanding who we are. So we have a lot of amazing products for the athlete. So, check us out at alfavedic.com. And then in terms of the other aspect of sort of Alfa Vedic is understanding what sovereignty means, understanding who we are as lawful living men and women. And with that, we are finally making the final steps to creating our own PMA, which is a private organization where people can join through our website, which will be launching shortly. This will be a whole private side, an organization to our website where you can basically become a private member. And within that, we have an entire social media apparatus built in that, all on our own website, on our own file directory. It's not running through any third party. And that will allow for, depending on what level you want to come in the co-op or in the private co-op, you can then engage with other members. There's groups, there's forums. We have monthly calls for executive members. There's discounts for executive members. And then that's how you can have direct contact and messaging there, myself and our whole team. But more than that, it's the new private community that we're developing, all based upon the core tenets and philosophy of Alfa Vedic. So that's really exciting. We're also doing kind of value for value model, which I think is really important moving forward. So you pay what you feel the value is on a monthly, quarterly, or annual subscription. And that is really exciting because I think as we move more into the gifting economy and more holistic economic means of doing business together, I think these kind of models are going to bring a lot of prosperity and abundance to people who are doing things right.
Wow, that sounds fun. I'm excited to see it, experience it, and this membership, basically deal is the way to go. And we've got so many in our tribe that are just wanting this information. So you guys, oh man, you guys are at the forefront of everything. And
another reason why we're doing it is because we were one of the first, speaking on the forefront, we were one of the first on Telegram because I come from a crypto background too, blockchain background. And so that was using Telegram I was using Telegram in 2015, 2016. And I saw the need to get Alfa Vedic on there. So 2017, our community was on Telegram. And And basically now, fast forward, because of the type of content we cover, we have feds in there. We've got people in there that are basically phishing our community, pretending to be me. It's gotten really bad this last month. And while Telegram is, one of the better options out there, it's not Facebook, right? And it's not Google. One of the lead creators is connected to the World Economic Forum. It is privately owned. It does have a private IP. It's not open source. So we don't know really what they're doing. This could be the greatest honeypot of all time. So that's something to think of. So that's just another reason why we want to get our community, which is so important, because community really is wealth. That is really where wealth is. We want to get complete control over our community on our own system and using open source software. So that we can ensure for the security moving forward for the way we do commerce, the way we connect, the way we are communicating, because that is a massive concern moving forward. Is even programs like Telegram or stuff like Signal and all these other privately owned products that we don't really know what they're doing. Are they owned by the NSA, CIA? What? It's hard to know. So that's another huge factor for why we're launching this private membership.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and we're going to be talking about this on Alfacast as well, and it'll be end of June 2022. So before this video gets aired, you guys go back, check out alfavedic.com, go to their Alfacast podcast that they do, and check out the Urban Security podcast, and it'll dive into a lot of that realm, and which leads us to Quartal. So share with us Quartal. I'm huge into blockchain and decentralizing, of course, growing your own food, really knowing what you put in your body. Like, it's not that tough, you guys, to believe in health and freedom and God. Like, this isn't the intangibles out there that people think it is. Like, these are completely tangible concepts. So Quartal is something that I want to jump into very soon. I haven't yet had the time to invest to get into it, but for a guy like me who's already in that space, tell me about it, and what are the first steps for me to get in there, and where is Quartal going for me to move my platforms onto it?
So Quartal is a very revolutionary and completely out of the box concept for what blockchain and specifically decentralization can do. The term decentralization is definitely a buzzword that I believe has been misappropriated for many of the projects that say they're decentralized. They aren't. I would say 95% of the crypto sphere as of now has different aspects of centralization and a lot of issues with it connected directly to all sorts of controlling systems that the original tenets of the Bitcoin white paper by Satoshi Nakamoto and the original cypherpunk movement was trying to get away from. That being, of course, centralized fiat currency. Most crypto coins are on centralized exchanges that are directly tied in with institutions that are working with the Fed or working with stock markets. It's what I call Wall Street 2.0. There's most people that are neophytes or are new to crypto. What do they immediately think of? They think of Coinbase. They think of trading. They think of how they can make money in the markets. And those markets are all centralized, and they're very low. They're very low volume and low liquidity markets that can be easily manipulated by a few whales. And there's a lot of pitfalls when you are trying to create a new decentralized disruptive system, but you're playing in that old, still rotten, corrupt system. So Quartal was developed to basically be a counter to all of this. So it is very radical in that it is completely separate from every legacy system. And that takes a lot of work for people just mentally to even wrap their head around. So typically now the way crypto is, because crypto is so concerned with adoption, They've essentially, most major coins have given in to working with the World Wide Web, which was developed by Sir Berners-Lee from CERN, which has a lot of red flags for people. If anyone who's familiar with the background of CERN and where CERN comes from and who's involved with CERN, and how essentially the World Wide Web, which is how most people access the internet, which was a DARPA ran basically developed in the 60s through DARPA and the RAND Corporation and a number of also academic circles that is basically a military project. There's a lot of pitfalls to this type of technology because of the background and where it came from, and a sort of where it's obviously turned now, where it's essentially a few corporations running access and running most of the FaceTime you get on the internet is only run by a few corporations, and even like the domain naming system is owned by a corporation. So all of the domains, the real estate of the World Wide Web isn't even publicly owned. So there's a lot of problems with that, with the way the World Wide Web and the internet is set up, and yet all these supposedly counter culture or counter technology systems that are supposed to be decentralized are actually working within that framework still. So Cordal essentially is from the ground up a complete and totally separate network. What that means is in order to access Cordal, you need to be downloading the core software, and you need to sync up with the network. And then essentially you're running a full node as a network host. So essentially, you can't just like pop on your phone right now, download an app, which would be a centralized app store run by Google or Apple, and then connect into someone's server to essentially get coin or create an account. That's how a lot of crypto works now. So you are going through people's centralized servers and through corporations and all of this nonsense to supposedly be working against or away from the controlling system. So with Cordal, everything's open source, of course. All the code is open source. Everything's transparent in that way. In order to access the network, you have to download it yourself and run it yourself on your own computer. And that can be on any computer. It can be on Windows. It can be on Mac. It can be on Linux. It uses open source Java, so it's cross-platform compatible with any computer. And even you can go to a pretty old computer to work on it. And then you would run the user interface, which allows you then to play in it. And basically what it's derived to do is to create a new internet, essentially replace the World Wide Web. So it's still using a lot of the classic internet functionality because that is all open source. That internet relies upon that being open source for it to work. So we're using the original intention of the internet, but we're not using the World Wide Web. So essentially what the way Cordal works is that once you're fully synced and up running, you can then create an identity on there. You can actually put a name on the blockchain. So it does have a blockchain as its central sort of backbone core that keeps a historic ledger of things like your name. Now, your name doesn't there's no KYC or anything like that. It's completely decentralized, which means you never have to tie your physical real world identity inside Cordal. You can create whatever name you want, but you can also, it's great because it is blockchain. For instance, if you wanted to be athleticism on there, you could nab athleticism for a small fee, and that essentially you'll be the only athleticism on the chain ever in the network, in the community. And with that, then people can send you coin. People can we have a fully decentralized encrypted chat on there called QChat that works a lot like Telegram, except that it's the point to point is fully SHA 256 encrypted. We also have the ability to create groups and chat that way, and have community built that way. That's been going for 2 years now, and that's completely feeless. So you can chat on there fully encrypted and decentralized, completely feeless. That we felt was very important to have communication up and running immediately in that way. We have a fully decentralized trade portal. So for liquidity, for coming in and using the coin, which will be used for future bartering and e-commerce on there. You can come in with Litecoin or Doge or a number of different, what we feel are fairly decentralized coins, Digibyte. What else? We're about to integrate R, which is from Pirate Chain, which is one of the more popular real privacy coins out there. And as a direct to direct P2P exchange of currency. So you come in with your Litecoin, you find somebody on the network who's offering a certain amount of court. You then exchange across the cross chains and exchange those currencies without any middleman. Almost all quote unquote DEXs out there, decentralized exchanges, are using some middleman or intermediary sort of system to hold the coins in between. This is a true cross-chain swap, they call it. And then we have websites on there now. So you can host your website on there for free, fully decentralized. Of course, the data isn't on the blockchain. It's hosted essentially on your hard drive. And then anybody who it works very much like a BitTorrent. So anybody who wants to go in and support the website, they can follow it. And that essentially means they download it onto their system and act as another node supporting the site. So the more popular your site is on the network, the stronger it gets and the more distributed it gets. The final thing that makes Quartal really interesting is we have our own consensus system. Everything's been built from the ground up. This is not a fork from another project. This was 7 or 8 years in the making. And the way the consensus works is it's not a competitive mining consensus like proof of work, which runs something like Bitcoin and currently Ethereum. It's also not a proof of stake sort of consensus that depends upon depends on how much coin you've bought or how wealthy you are in the fake fiat world to come in and take control over the new system. It runs purely on time. And we felt like that was like the most fair thing that everybody has to deal with in this reality is we all have to face time. So if you come in and you prove yourself by supporting the network for a week straight, and you're sponsored by somebody who's level 5 or above, which just means they've been running the system for a certain amount of time, and they're definitely vetted now over time. Then you can start what we call minting, which just means every block that is processed on the chain, because you are supporting the network by minting, by running a full node and taking part in consensus, you're sharing in the block reward with everybody else in your level on the entire network. So it's more of like a collaborative, community-based protocol than a competitive protocol that Bitcoin uses. And it's also doesn't create mining pools and all this stuff where you've seen with Bitcoin, where we have large, warehouses running millions and millions watts of power to try to win Bitcoin. The whole idea is everybody just runs their one node. You can run on a solar panel and a Raspberry Pi and keep the network going. So it's really more about power to the people than power to money or to those who can afford to create huge mining systems.
Epic. I mean, so fun and so versatile. And I just look at the versatility of all the speakers that we have, like Dr. Patrick Porter and Bear and you and Alex Zek. The versatility of what these guys are sharing, what you're sharing, it's so profound. It's not just one thing. We've become really, really entrenched in multiple trades or directions and bringing every direction on that compass to the center. And that's what it takes, you guys. And with that, with the moral compass connecting, above and to that we're born free. So I'm so appreciative of your voice and everything you're doing with Alfa Vedic and Music in Sky and Quartal, and super fun to see that. And I can't wait to get up to your botanical gardens.
Yeah, I was just hanging out there yesterday with good old Bear. He was helping me out. I'm always learning. So I've been dealing with some headache issues. I've had, I think, too much computer work. So he's getting me dialed in somatics, if you're familiar with, and starting to do that. So I went over there for my first sort of tutorial and lesson, and then I got to walk the gardens with him. And the gardens are a continual work pleasure, I would say, for Bear and his wife Deb, people. We do have helpers there too in the gardens, and so it'll be something that is essentially a never-ending project because it's continually needing work and being built out. But I'm telling you, man, if you want to get grounded and really come to awareness of who you are, come visit the Alfa Vedic Gardens and go sit on one of the benches there under the canopy of conifers and do a little meditation, and all the world's worries dissipate pretty quickly.
They do. And that's the key. Get grounded by nature and be one with it, be in it, and immerse yourself in it. I brought Jim Gale out. We went diving. Yesterday I do a little dive out in Pacific Ocean, Laguna Beach, and through the kelp beds, and no wetsuit. Water was about 68-ish. And
wow, that's hella warm, dude. The ocean here is like probably 57 right now.
And no wetsuit. We were in it for an hour at least. Just
ooh, that's cold, man. For an hour, that'll get to you. That's awesome. I want to do that with you sometime.
All right. Well, you're in anytime, and so fired up. Well, you guys, let's wrap this up. Alfavedic.com. Check it out. Mike Winter, the man, the voice behind Alfa Vedic, along with Dr. Barre Lando. So, hey, Mike, thanks so much for sharing all your thoughts and wisdom. Appreciate you.
Hey, thanks so much, Justin. I look forward to seeing you next time at Music and Sky, or hopefully before that. We do have a number of little workshops and events and things happening up here. You can find out more when we launch the private platform shortly. And then also to find out more about Quartal, you can go to quartal.org, and that's QORTAL.org. Totally, obviously, permissionless, free to sign up. The more people coming over, the stronger we get. If you are inspired by what Quartal is doing, please come over, check it out. We've got a Discord and Telegram group as well. We're always looking for new, passionate, talented people, whether that be you're just good at talking or marketing, or you're a coder. Yes, we need you. But if you're just good at even just talking about alternative health, we've got a very awesome community that loves to talk about that stuff. Come on over and join the Quartal community and also the Alfa Vedic community. Our arms are open.
Yeah, CRG just promotes you to no end. Green Med Info founder. I mean, you guys, you got some muscle behind you. So everybody jump on it and spread the love, spread the word. You guys, you're free. So go have fun, man. Get out in the water, get grounded, and go pick up some Alfa Vedic products as well. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thanks, Justin.